Good afternoon and welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. Give me a second while I welcome our Spanish speaking neighbors. Buenas tardes, gracias por estar con nosotros hoy en 3 p.m. con SAC. Si quieren acceso al programa en español, por favor marquen el número que aparece en la pantalla, que es 425-436-6200. Cuando le contesten la llamada, por favor comparten el clave, el contraseña que aparece, que es 627-682. My name is Tammy Rivera. I'm the Executive Director and Lead Organizer for Southside Organizing Center, SOC, or SOC. We are here today, and we'll get the program started in a second. I want to let you know that we haven't missed a day since the pandemic has started for and with you. We have been here. You can reach us in all the ways that you always have, except for in person at this time, as we wait to become safe enough to do that again. Our phone number continues to be 672-8090. Our email is soc@socmilwaukee.org. And you can look for information, resources, and ways you can take action on the coronavirus and all other kinds of issues in the community and needs at our website at www.socmilwaukee.org. We all have a heavy heart, don't we, about the continued racism and brutality in our country, and we're at a loss at finding better ways to move forward. In some ways, a lot has changed, and in others, not enough has changed. And so we're going to have a week dedicated to trying to understand the problems that we're facing between police and community, and specifically our African American brothers and sisters, our other people of color, and just the population in general. We have not figured this out yet. And as we are seeing across the nation and locally, it is completely unacceptable for us to be in the state that we are right now. And I think everyone is in agreement that we cannot continue in the same way. We have to solve this issue of police brutality and community members, and that we have to do it together. I'm not saying we have the answers, but certainly if we have the convictions that we profess, the amount of wisdom, experience, passion, commitment, perseverance, a diversity that really is a strength in the city should be able to make progress on this issue. And so that's what we're going to endeavor to do with our residents on the South Side, and as a city and larger community and as a nation this week. And so today, what we're going to do is sort of review some aspects of this issue. And I'm not going to pretend that we don't have a difference of opinion to different degrees about this issue. And so, especially on the South Side, we have some very pro-police people. We have some very anti-police people, opinions, and then everything in between. I think what's clear is what has happened in the past just is not acceptable. Not solving it is not acceptable. So let's try to hear each other, listen, and do some problem solving around this. And so let's review what has happened recently, because this is has been an ongoing issue for America since it first was colonized. First peoples arrived here. The people arrived here among the first peoples, the indigenous community that was here. And so there's no secret that we as America struggle with the issue of race and oppression. And I'm not talking about where people want to individualize it, just individuals, but as a structure, part of our founding, in systems, in continued practices, conscious and subconscious and unconscious that we all have, all of us. Those of us who have privilege, complete privilege, and those of us who have all different kinds of privilege um, today. And so the most recent incident, we spoke about this last week with President of the Common Council, Chevy Johnson, who put out a statement, and with some of his colleagues today, which is George Floyd was murdered by a police officer in Minneapolis, and it was recorded, and all of us viewed it. And I think there's a consensus across the nation that that was wrong. There was no hiding it. And so after that begs the question of all the other injustices. And these are just the ones that are reported. Imagine all the ones that are not. Now, you could say it was an individual police officer, but really, um, it's about the structures and systems. You know, when you do grassroots organizing, it's oppression is not an individual matter. It is a matter of structure and systems and practices and biases and culture that is created. Um, I remember having a discussion with the now chief of police, who was formerly the captain of our district and then was moved downtown, and was drilling him when he was um, aiming for the position he now holds. And this was one of the topics um, that we discussed. And I remember then his answer was, it's not an individual, although individuals cause the damage. We have to examine it's the culture, the structure, and the systems, the training, etc. And I was in agreement with him, and that's why at that time we supported his candidacy. And so looking forward to digging in with him on those issues. But for us as a community, here's where we at. And then recently, people have questions and concerns over the murder of Joel Acevedo as well here in Milwaukee by uh, police officer Mattioli. Accidental or not, we don't know. That's yet to be seen. And so here's what I want to do. I'm going to share with you who we have coming this coming week, and then I want to get your questions and concerns. And let's try to do this. We're not all going to be on the same page. But from a social justice lens, we have there are certain tenets and principles that we hold to, and so that's what we're going to try to get to, and then we're going to try to problem solve as a community and try to make a commitment together that we're going to do it this time. We're going to figure it out this time together with the stakeholders, the residents, the members of our communities, elected officials, administrative positions like the appointment of the chief of police, um, and you know, we're gonna try to make this happen together as a community, south side, north side, east side, west side. And so what I'd like to do now is share who's coming on this week and then get your questions and concerns. And so if you see me going back and forth on my cell phone, it's because we're working with the governor's office to have them have a representative. And it looks like tomorrow, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes will be on with us again. As you know, he was with us last week. Also tomorrow, the executive committee of the Collaborative Community Committee, I'll explain what that is in a second, will be with us to discuss the work that we did. That committee is an appointed committee by the Common Council to continue the work of the Department of Justice when they came in, if you remember, um, to investigate, to review the Milwaukee Police Department and the Fire and Police Commission. And so they reviewed, created a draft report. That draft report went to the then Chief Flynn. Chief Flynn at that time had some issues with the report, and the community was waiting to hear that report, to see that report released. Anyway, in the battle and the politics that ensued after that, because we had a new president of the United States who kind of halted the work of the Department of Justices across the nation. The report got leaked, and the community got a hold of it. And so we'll talk in more detail about that tomorrow. As a result of all of that, this collaborative community committee was formed to ensure that all those efforts go forward. And so the chair of that committee is the director of the African American Roundtable, Marquesa Tucker. The vice chair is Fred Royal. The president of the NAACP and the treasurer and research chair is myself. And so tomorrow we're going to be talking about all the work that went into getting the community involved in problem solving around this issue of police and community relations. The resulting recommendations, where all of that is, where the committee is. You heard last week that President of the Common Council, Chevy Johnson, said he affirms that the committee should continue its work forward. And so that executive committee will be here tomorrow. We're going to talk about that work. We're also going to be talking to Lieutenant Mandela Barnes about the current response from the state on this police brutality and the resulting protest and unrest, peaceful protest and unrest that has ensued. And then we are going to have on Wednesday, we contracted with researchers to help us analyze that data from the Collaborative Community Committee. And one of the outstanding researchers with us working on that was Dr. Deborah Blanks. And she's going to be here on Wednesday because we'll do an overview of the Collaborative Committee. And then on Wednesday, she's going to share with us the historical and contextual analysis of police community problems. So she's going to be able to go back years and trace what happened under what chiefs, what policies, what struggles, the lawsuits, the efforts made around reform, because this isn't like a today incident. This is an always problem in America. And so we need to look at it historically and currently, and she's going to be able to share that. And she's just incredible. You're really going to have an appreciation for her knowledge and work around that. And then on Thursday, Alderman Jose Perez, and hopefully I'm going to connect with Alderman Samaripa. They're going to be on, and we're going to talk about the Near South Side Emergency Peace Collaborative that we formed the last time we had an issue of unrest in the community, and how that collaborative can work as part of the solution to this problem. And God willing, we're going to have Reggie Moore, the director of the City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, on Friday. There are loads of other people who are going to be coming on. But what we're trying to do is let's put everything on the table, folks. And then let's have some discussion and debate about it. And then most importantly, let's move forward with some solutions so that we can live up to the professions we make as a country and as a city. And so what I'd like to do now is share, we may or may not have guests coming up in the show because so many things are happening quickly. And I want to share a disclaimer that we try to create a place for voice at SOC, meaning the voice of residents. And as I have shared consistently, we are a certain type of a nonprofit, and we are allowed to swim in some waters and not in others. And sometimes we agree with opinions that are shared here, and sometimes we can't. And so with that, I just want to say that views and opinions shared today don't necessarily reflect those of SOC. What I'd like to do now is I'm going to start reading some of the comments, and then I want to remind you all that we have, we do a daily drawing for a gift certificate of $25. And if you fill out our survey or you participate in a promo that we have, and later in the program, we'll share more about what this week's promos are going to be. So what I'd like to do now is say some hellos, and then I want to invite you. So so please do think about this, and I want to ask all of us to be extremely respectful of each other, um, and express opinions without degrading people personally, or as a culture. And we ain't going to tolerate any of that here. And so, but we do want to have you express your thoughts and problem solving and ask your questions and share your concerns in just a second. And so, specifically, what I want you to think about here is, what questions do you have and concerns regarding any of the incidents that have happened here with individuals, Joel Acevedo, and our thoughts and prayers to the family and friends of Joel Acevedo. We'd love when you all feel healed enough to discuss, to bring you on and share your point of view and your experience on that other side. And then, of course, any of the recent murders that have taken place at the hands of police officers here locally, or other incidents that we know occurred, the illegal body searching, the stop and frisk, etc. We hope to have the ACLU on as well. So think about your questions and your concerns, and if you have ideas on how we could get past this, let us know. And then I'm going to ask our staff to just refrain from responding to people individually. I'll respond today as the moderator. All right, let me say some hellos, and then let's see if we can start collecting some questions. Andrea, I'm going to depend on you or one of the other staff to collect the questions and concerns and problem solving that is shared today in a document, just like we did around the elections, so that we can capture that. Hola, Chino. Hola, Carmen. Hola, Elsa. Yes, it's sad and disappointing. Enough is enough. Hola, Marianne. Hola, Jerry. Hola, Patricia. Hola, Uriel. Diana Becerra has a question. Hello, Tammy. My question is, if you know if we'll be on curfew tonight again. It's my understanding that we will again be under curfew tonight. I got that information from Alderman Perez earlier today. Yeah, I sent them a message. Waiting till the end of the day is so confusing that they should get out those restrictions as early as possible in the day. And then let's see. Hola, Rose. Rose is saying hi to Andrea. Hola, Brenda. Hola, Carmen Nereida Rosario. My titi all the way from Puerto Rico. All right, let's hear it, folks, in a very safe way. Please do share. What questions do you have? You have any questions about what happened in the Joel Acevedo case? Because we've been getting tons of them. I'll share some, but I want to hear from you first. What questions do you have that you've been dying to answer? And I understand some of you are not going to feel safe sharing here. I get it. It's very scary to share questions and concerns, especially if it has to do with a body as powerful as the police force. And we know every police officer doesn't have evil intent, but there are some that do. The greater question is, what are the structures, the systems, the culture, and the practices that enable or encourage or like recklessly allow these training? Like, what is it that is allowing this to be a continued issue, instead of having a more united approach with our law enforcement of keeping everybody safe, even keeping people safe from the police? And I know that that's our ideal. And I know from the leadership that at times that I've heard from Chief Morales that that's his goal, the mayor's goal, president of the Common Council, etc. And so, but we have to cross the bridge and get there. And we have to do that together. Okay, Elsa, I am very concerned with all this policing and people without citizenship facing fear and issues. Yes, then you complicate the issue by the layer of the whole issue of ICE coming into the communities, and the whole battle that we had around that SOP 130. SOP is a standard operating procedure for the police. It's like their guidelines of what they can and can't do. Those are set by the Fire and Police Commission. And there was a whole debate about whether they should cooperate when ICE is here to try to, capture people and deport them. And so the Fire and Police Commission made a decision and said that the policy is that the Milwaukee Police Department cannot cooperate with ICE unless they have a judicial warrant, meaning reason to. And so that's where that was left out. I agree, that leaves our community feeling afraid, which means people don't report crimes. People don't want to cooperate with the system because they're afraid, all kinds of things. They won't open to the doors. It increases abuse, etc. Okay. I understand some of you are not going to want to share because it's not, you may not feel safe. And so I'm going to share some of the questions that we've collected so far. One question was the party at the police officers was that during quarantine? And if so, didn't Chief Morales say that they would ticket or arrest anybody who was violating the quarantine order, including having parties because they were not essential functions? That was one of the questions. The other question is, who was at that party? Because reportedly it was other police officers, and so that hasn't been disclosed. The other question is, it is reported that other police officers were there, and so why was it necessary for one officer off duty to restrain Mr. Acevedo? If there was plenty others, like why would you have to choke someone if there was more than a couple of police officers? They could restrain it. The other question or doubts people are having is why was reportedly, and maybe this is misinformation, so I'm sharing all the questions and concerns that are shared with us. Why was the officer restraining Acevedo and calling 911 at the same time? Because if the situation rise to that matter, wouldn't one of the other police officers who are guests be calling and him not? And was this all really over an alleged pocket picking? The other question was, like, what was taking place at that house if everybody was partying so hard that they woke up the next morning? And were people, including Officer Mattioli, tested for drugs? These are all questions and concerns, all allegations, all questions to be investigated. We understand that the FPC has taken over the investigation from Internal Affairs from the Milwaukee Police Department. We shared that in an earlier forum. Those are some of the questions surrounding Acevedo. And there was questions about the chokehold and how it's used and how people are trained, and is it an allowable, tactic for restraining someone, and can they do that if they're not on duty? And so if you have any questions or concerns, and let me invite you, if you don't feel comfortable sharing that here because it's public, we're happy to take your questions and concerns. You can email them to soc@socmilwaukee.org. Just like the question sheet that we created around the elections and the question and concern sheet we created around COVID-19, we are going to create the same question sheet around the Joel Acevedo case and any other case you have questions about, the Sterling Brown, the Dontre Hamilton, the Civil Smith. So any questions you have about the search, the stop and search, about the illegal cavities, or any questions you've been feeling like you didn't get sufficient answers from our police department or the Fire and Police Commission, or the chief or the mayor, the common council, let's put those questions together, and we're going to intend on doing exactly what we did during the election, get those answers from you. Let me see if we have any new questions. Any questions about the SOP 130 and ICE, etc.? All right, we invite you. I see that people are not feeling comfortable because I certainly know you have a lot to say because I check my emails, my phone, my text, talked with my staff, and there's been a flurry of questions, concerns. I mean, every emotion, etc. As I said earlier, I want to make sure that we're doing our best to give you all the information we know as fast as we know. We got briefed from the governor's office about the National Guard presence and about the curfew, and I'll talk a little more about that in a little bit with our safety lead, Travis. But as soon as we get information, we're trying to share that with you. And Alderman Perez stays in contact with us and updates us as much as he can as well. So again, I want to invite you to continue to share the questions and concerns that you have. And how do you think we can work together to get past this? Carlos, will they release the 911 call from Acevedo? Let's add that to the list of questions. Andrea or whoever's taking the notes from my staff, from our staff, to compile that sheet. Uh, Anytime during the show you want to ask a question or concern, or you have a suggestion. Hey, this is how I think together as a community we can solve this problem because it's solvable. If we have a conviction and a commitment and the will to do it, it's solvable. I am also concerned with our mental health, and this is a lot to handle, coupled with the pandemic. Correct, Elsa? Um, can we do something to help our residents suffering from depression and sadness because of all this? Yes. Marlene Zoran is our COVID-19 coordinator, which was really our public health coordinator. I'm going to, it's been on the docket of trying to dedicate some time to mental health. And then almost daily we have another crisis. And so we've been trying to keep up with that, but we're definitely, Elsa, gonna put some time for that. We also have Alas on our docket of we have to come and talk about the needs of our families with kids or people with disabilities in their family. Like we have to address that too, and so we'd love to partner with you on that. And we'll make sure that we make some space for mental health in the program. We do on our webpage have an entire page dedicated to information, resources, and action that can be taken in regards to COVID-19, including mental health services there. Diana, I think as a community, we need to be more vocal about these issues, be brave enough to challenge others respectfully. Agreed, Diana. Listen, I always say this. I know you're going to find this to be ringing true with you. The person who carried us in their bodies and in their souls for 9 months delivered us into this world. We don't 100% agree with our own mothers on every issue. To think we don't agree with our children. Listen, come to my house and on a hot debated topic, and we don't agree. We don't agree with our partners in life, our husbands, wives, partners in life 100%. We don't agree with our pastors 100%. The expectation that as community members, we're going to agree 100% on everything is not rational. We have to understand that we have to work on getting to a place that is manageable, supportable enough to move forward, and that there will be issues that we fundamentally disagree on. Let's work on the stuff we can work on, and let's keep chipping away at those areas that we fundamentally disagree on. And also, that's what democracy is for. The debate, the decision we all have to make, and the vote that we're going to do. So let's work on that. We need to remind everyone that it's not safe to be out participating in demonstrations for many reasons, including COVID-19. That's what Elsa has to contribute. Marlene is going to be on a little later talking about how to be safer in protests. So she found the resource for that and is going to be sharing it. Lily, hola. David, yes, so proud to see North, South, Black, and Latino social justice activists making their voice heard across the city. That was a beautiful part of what happened on Friday afternoon. I've always said this, and you all know this to be true. This was true even during the pandemic, even during the election scandal. When in the battle there is beauty, and so we forge in the most evil of time. In the most pressing of times, you will see evil and you will see love in an action that is extreme powerful. And that's what we're trying to focus on without forgetting that evil has been done and we have to be addressing it. And so I always say that there's beauty that arises from every battle. Thank you, David, for being with us. And David, we'd love to have you on the forum as well in terms of your vocation and the role that you have with the county, brother. We'd love to hear your voice on here. So that's an invitation a la hora, at the hour, meaning when he can make it happen, we'd happy to have you here. All right. We're going to have another question and then we're going to move on. You're going to continue to ask your questions and comments, and I'm happy to be hearing that. Marlene is reminding us that we do have some mental health topics and resources coming next week. Okay, Maria Pera, why is the police officer on paid leave? Also, what is happening with the other officers who were, I'm sorry, when there's a couple of questions, it bumps up. Also, what is happening with the other officers who were there when the murder happened? Why hasn't the police department issued a statement on George Floyd? All good questions. We're putting all those down. And that was one of the questions people were saying earlier. Well, who was there? And weren't they supposed to be in quarantine? And didn't the chief of police say he was going to ticket and arrest people who were going to be doing things that were not non-essential? Elsa. Many police officers from other cities joined in the demonstration and showed solidarity. It would have been nice to have our officers do the same. I saw some of that too. That was powerful across the nation. I saw a sheriff and some other police officers. We know we have good police officers, right? I mean, in my own family, I have police officers. I have a niece and a nephew and a cousin. I have a cousin who just retired. I have a niece and a nephew. And so the good part of that is we're having more and more officers here locally who were born and raised in Milwaukee, who have a love for Milwaukee and its people. I'm not saying that external people don't. It's just that when you have lived experience and you live in the community, I mean, and you know what, the Rockwell Tower is, and you know what the lakefront smells like, and you know what State Fair tastes like, and you know what Summerfest sounds like, and you know what the Art Fest on MLK looks like. It's just a different lived experience and a different soul that's interacting with the people it naturally loves because it was there. Not saying you can't learn to love Milwaukee. All right. Marisabel Cabrera, regarding the release of the 911 call, this is State Representative Marisabel Cabrera. I'm so happy our Southside residents are here with us. Some other people from other areas, you're welcome to listen in as well and be here with us. And that we have, some of our leadership, David Muhammad from the county, Marisabel Cabrera from the state, Elsa Diaz, the director of ALAS. Okay, State Representative Cabrera. Regarding the release of 911 call and other evidence, the FPC must be mindful of the fact that there is a criminal case pending wherein the jury will be selected from the community at large. It's possible that releasing the such evidence would taint the jury's perspective and open the door to a charge of venue outside of Milwaukee. It would be best that the jury be selected from the community that was directly impacted. So she's talking about some of the reasons those are not released. Also, I want to remind you that State Representative Marisabel Cabrera was the former chair of the Fire and Police Commission, and so she knows what she's talking about. The other thing that I can tie into that is that the Collaborative Community Committee, as part of its recommendations, asked that video, police video, video from crime, the police cams be shared within 2 weeks, as soon as possible, and within 2 weeks of an incident. And so that's still a recommendation. Nothing has happened in it. Ben Zebra, Waukesha PD kneel today with protesters. Great to hear that, Ben, and good to see you here. Ben is part of our extended family. Um, Natalia Cázares. Hola, Natalia. All right, you can continue, folks, and we're going to continue on with our programming for today. Marlene Zaran is our newest staff. Very happy to have her here. As y'all know, we introduced her and she introduced herself last week. She is our coronavirus coordinator, our public health coordinator, and she is also, this is her first like primary week of being the coordinator of this forum. And so she's been on it. We're so grateful to Edith, who got us going. Um, uh, Edith Chavez, our former forum coordinator, she's been very successful in launching a couple of initiatives with us here. Marlene, you have found some really important, useful information about protesting and being safer because of the coronavirus. Please share that with us.
Yes. Congresswoman Cortez shared an infographic about different ways that you can remain safe while you're protesting. Now, as SOC, as a forum, we are not condoning or against protesting. But if you are going to protest, please remember that COVID-19 is still in Milwaukee, and numbers are increasing as we are speaking today. I'd like everyone to remember to stay at least 5 feet away from each other, and remember to wear goggles and masks. It's important to tie your hair up because coronavirus can be spread while you are in large groups and individuals are in tight mass situations. You should be wearing solid layered colors, so you do not you're not as identified by any tattoos, or if you're going to be wearing items of clothing that have your company's logo, you don't want to misrepresent anything. It's important to bring water for drinking, and it's important to bring milk for tear gas if tear gas is ever going to be administered. Bring snacks. Remember to bring cash and change and an ID. Remember to bring Band-Aids or first aid supplies, your protest signs, earplugs, a washcloth. Remember to not bring anything that you're afraid that you might be arrested with. And don't wear contact lenses because of tear gas. No jewelry. And if you want, you can turn off your Facetune, your face or touch ID on your cell phone, and go on airplane mode in order to disable data. This helps individuals from not identifying who you are if you are to be get in trouble, or the police are to arrest you. Yes. So stay 5 feet apart from each other. Remember to wear a mask at all times. Wear gloves if you can. When you get home, take the clothes that you were just wearing, put them in a disposable bag, and take a shower. So that's really important to do, especially if you want individuals in your family to stay safe and for you as a human to not get coronavirus.
Marlene, I appreciate that you found that resource, and that the Congresswoman published the infographic to help people understand. And we want to make some things clear here. We completely support and encourage folks to express their right to share their voice and to peacefully protest. We understand why folks lose it in times when there's no solution and there's no hope, right? We understand it, but we also want people to be safe and to not harm, our local business people and their investment stuff. We understand that. We just um, want everybody to be safe. And the real issue here is we have a long history in this country of injustice, and we know historically what has moved the country to change. And in great part, it has been mass demonstration. And for the most part, the vast majority of that has been peaceful. In every body of people, there are people who are going to be at their breaking points. Um, and that's what we see at times, that within certain movements and times in our country, and that's an expression of rage and getting attention. And so the real root cause of that is what is causing people to be so exasperated that they lose it. And so let's not lose sight of that, as we do want everybody to be safe, okay? Let's not lose sight of that what we're really dealing with is hundreds of years of oppression, and we have to solve those. And in this nation, we've seen what needs to happen in order for change to happen. And unfortunately, it always isn't diplomacy, and it
Exactly.
always isn't legislation, because even till now, we don't have laws that are being implemented that are fair, or that are fairly being implemented. And so we do encourage you to participate in expressions of your right to be heard, and to your right to gather, and to protest peacefully. And so thank you, Marlene, for reminding us and giving us some resources. And the other reason you might be asking, well, why are you sharing all this advice about being safe processes? Because we also know people have not responded to peaceful protests justly.
Exactly.
So we also have to be prepared for, in the event that we are peacefully protesting, to be met with unjustly responding to that. Now, I'm not saying that there are things that are happening that are that are illegal and should be ignored. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, we also know historically as a nation, when people have tried to protest, even in my parents' generation. Matter of fact, I was alive during some of these. I was born already. That people weren't justly treated when they were peacefully protesting. That's why some of the safeguards. The
Exactly.
other thing that I saw on that is very useful is to make sure that in the event that you are not conscious, God willing, that doesn't happen, that you have emergency contacts on your arms, written
Mhm.
on your arms.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's important
that
too.
was really important. In addition to people, if you're going to protest, to all the CDC and all the other great information here. Thank you, Marlene. So excited you're with us and all that you're bringing to the table.
Of course, definitely.
All right, I'm going to take some more questions and concerns here. Drea, can you share where residents can give donations for families or protesters? Water and first aid is needed. Okay, in every major peaceful protest here has an organizing body. Many times those are affiliated with an organization. So my response to that is, if you see those events, click on who the host is, right? Voces de la Frontera, the African American Roundtable, Black Lives Matter, NAACP, LULAC, Unidos US, whatever local coalition. And so if you feel someone is doing an effort and to address an issue that moves you, see who's organizing that, whatever nonprofit, and let's make a note to add a resource list in our actions area on the website of where you can go to support efforts for justice and aid to families and protesters. I saw that there was a couple of funds out as well. I can't recall them now, Drea, but we're gonna find out. Love you too, Ben. Lily, Diana. Those who are unable to go to protest, there are many ways you can help without physically being there. Correct. Ayuda mutua is an effort that we have had on the program before. We have that information here. I'll ask Andrea to share it, and it's on our website. It's a group of local volunteers who are continuing to take and distribute donations to families for basic like hygiene needs and baby needs, diapers, food, etc. during this hard time. As you know, you have heard from the federal government. I don't know if that's changed, so maybe we can get an answer tomorrow. Most relief aid from the federal government has not included our undocumented community, even though they work and live among us and contribute taxes, by the way, too, if they're working and don't tap into those. So they need support during this time. So, okay, we're going to continue. Thank you, Marlene. And then Congresswoman Ocasio for sharing that resource about being safer during protesting and COVID-19. And then let's bring in our civic engagement manager. I know we're dealing with this critical issue, but we cannot lose sight of our continued need, especially in times like this, to be stronger about our civic knowledge, about how we vote and how we elect people and how we hold them accountable and how we want them to represent us. We can't lose sight of that even in these critical times, that the best way we can express is to have people who represent us in office, and then it doesn't end there, hold them accountable. And so we're going to bring on Gabe, our civic engagement manager. She's going to give us an update in that area. Hola, Gabe.
Hi, Tammy. I just want to say I'm so glad to see so many folks that are in support of and seemingly in solidarity with those that are out there expressing their pain and their frustration at this disgusting injustice that happened. So just keep the comments coming with your thoughts and feelings about what's going on. I know that my heart is with everyone out there as well. And I do just want to say to my fellow white folks out there, especially those who claim to be an ally to people of color, that we need to be continuing to self-educate ourselves on institutionalized racism, especially racism in the criminal legal system and police brutality. I also think all of us need to be doing some deep diving into ourselves and identify any implicit or unconscious bias that might be manifesting itself right now. Allies need to constantly be doing this internal work, and we need to be making sure that we're not upholding the status quo that isn't serving people of color and has never served people of color. So just, throwing that out there. It's important for us to be doing that work right now as allies. And speaking of policing, the MPS Board of Directors voted unanimously to divest $100,000 or to take away $100,000 from Milwaukee Police Department contracts and instead reinvest those funds into hiring restorative practice coaches. And some other items that they voted on that we're excited about is that they're reducing class sizes, raising minimum wage to $15 for all MPS employees, increasing teacher salaries, hiring more than 70 teachers, and many of those will be early childhood education teachers. And then also hiring dozens of other staff like librarians, counselors, therapists, nurses, social workers, and teachers' aides. So we're really excited to see this, really happy to see this. We know that these are the kinds of things that our babies need to be flourishing adults. I also just want to give you all a glimpse of the week ahead. I know that, like I said, a lot of our minds are other places right now, but for those that have the mental energy and want to be looking at what our common council and other government entities are doing this week, Today there was a common council meeting at 9 a.m. and they actually passed a resolution that will freeze property tax penalties and interest payments until September. Today at 1:30, there was also a city plan commission meeting and a steering and rules committee meeting. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. there will be tomorrow at 9 a.m. there will be a licenses committee meeting. Wednesday at 9 a.m. there'll be a public works committee meeting. Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. there'll be a community and economic development committee meeting. And then Thursday at 9 a.m. there'll be a public safety and health committee meeting. So for those of you that can tune in, want to tune in, those are the meetings that are happening this week. So tune into those if you're able. I've mentioned a number of times on this forum how the census impacts funding for public services and political representation for the next 10 years. And I know that we have a lot of graduating students from our community, whether from high school or college, who care about their future and care about their community's future. So our promotion for this week is going to be to send us your graduation pictures to be featured in a slideshow, similarly to how we had a slideshow for Mother's Day for those that saw that slideshow. And then along with that picture of your graduation, your graduation, whatever, because I know that we are doing a lot of virtual graduations. You can send us a picture of you in your graduation outfit, in your cap and gown if you have it. Send us a screenshot of your virtual graduation if that's how you're doing it at your school. But send along proof that you and your family also completed the census, because in this promotion, we want to make sure that we're also promoting that you care about your community and the funding that your community is getting. So send us those pictures so you can be in the slideshow and enter to win $50 for this week's promotion. So if anyone has any questions about that, throw them in the comments. I hope that I explained it well enough. Sometimes I don't. But yeah, make sure you get us your graduation picture, whatever that looks like in these weird times of not doing actual in-person graduations, and send us proof that you did the census, you or someone in your family did the census, because we love all of our graduates, are so happy for them and for all the hard work that they put in this year, especially having to do everything virtually for the last couple months. So much love to all the graduates, much love to everyone out there fighting for justice. My heart is with you, and I will be back with you all on Friday unless something pressing comes up throughout the week. And I'll leave you with a census video that I have been leaving you all with for the last couple weeks.
What time is it?
Bedtime.
My wife never gets home in time to see little man go to sleep. Her bus stop is a mile away. I wish I could at least walk home with her. I'm completing the 2020 census for my family. My response can impact how public funding is spent in my community. That could mean education for little man and a closer bus stop for her.
Hey.
Shape your future. Start here. Complete the census at 2020census.gov.
Thank you, Gabe, always bringing us the latest. Isn't she doing a great job? I shared before, one of my dreams here at SOC was to really be able to bring to you, have the capacity, the staff time to tell you what happens in our municipal elected office and the people we hire at City Hall. So you're really kept abreast of all the processes that you can participate in, the decisions that are made, what the people you elect do. So you can keep an eye on that, and that your desires in all those systems be respected, right? That your voice and your vote. And so really to see Gabe here and being able to have the capacity in our staff team to let you know all the meetings that are coming, all the resulting things, that's a dream come true. And it's so important for all of us to know that. So thank you, Gabe, for that. And yes, our graduates count. So that's why we're doing that promotion. We want to make sure you're counted in the census. We can't lose sight of what happens now affects us for the next 10 years. So we're going to continue to bring that on. And then I'm going to bring Travis Hope on, one of our organizers. Hola, Travis. Thank you for being with us. What happened?
Hello.
No new hat today.
No, no new hat.
No new hat. That's okay. It's been a hard week and weekend for us. Travis, Lieutenant Mandela Barnes will be with us tomorrow. But can you share a little bit of information from the press releases that you've been monitoring from the governor's office about the National Guard response? I know there are a lot of questions and kind of some misinformation. Folks, we can only share what we know so far. And our Milwaukee office deputy director has been briefing me every day. He's been calling me over the weekend and letting me know, and a couple of times a day, what's happening so we can share with you. Travis, what do those press releases share with us that we should share with folks?
Actually, I just wanted to share real quick that right now today at 3:50 p.m. the mayor has extended the curfew for tonight until 5:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, June 2nd. So everybody has to be inside of the house by 9 o'clock. That has just been confirmed. He just held a press conference. Him and the police chief are talking right now, actually. So the curfew is on tonight at 9 o'clock. So be aware of that. So in the National Guard stuff, pursuant to the 321.391 Article 5 section of the state statute, the governors bring the National Guard to come and assist law enforcement. Is to support the city effort in response to anybody who disrupts the peaceful protests. There's 125 members active right now in Milwaukee to provide support to the local law enforcement and to protect critical infrastructure, and cultural institutions. The National Guard will not be used to stop peaceful protest or impede anybody that's doing peaceful protests or the media that is reporting on the peaceful protests. So they're not to interfere with none of that. And the Milwaukee Police Department is enforcing a $691 ticket if you're violating the curfew violation. So if you have no reason to be outside after 9 o'clock, please do not. They're encouraging people to stay home by 9 o'clock p.m. tonight. Like I say, we'll go until 5:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, June 2nd. The National Guard, we know that the mayor, Tom Barrett, the police chief, the sheriff, Ernell Lucas, and the Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley have all agreed with the National Guard coming to assist in the city of Milwaukee, and that the city of Milwaukee law enforcement and police officers and sheriff will be on the front lines, and the National Guard is to help assist them. So that way there's more of the police in those districts and those that know those neighborhoods, as well as the sheriff that knows those neighborhoods, to help interact with the community. So yeah, as of right now, that's the most of the info that's out there right now. As I say, the curfew is extended, so that'll be tonight at 9 p.m. till 5:30 a.m. June 2nd.
And then I'll add that Deputy Director Edwin Huertas of the governor's office briefed me yesterday that they expanded the 125 to 250 National Guard. And they didn't issue that, or I haven't seen it yet. Literally, I have hundreds of emails. I'm behind. And that was expanded, that coverage from the National Guard, but that those numbers were also to be shared with surrounding communities. So that they expanded another 125, and that those would be in other communities. If I remember correctly, it was like Wauwatosa, Glendale, etc.
So yeah, Wauwatosa, Glendale, a couple other communities, Kenosha, suburbs, community Shorewood, are all adhering to this the 9 o'clock. I believe it's 8:30 in Kenosha. So if you don't have to be outside, please don't. And let try to keep the streets peaceful.
Thank you, Travis. Appreciate your update. Maria Chavarin, it's a solution. Maria, are you referring to the National Guard issued by the governor and the support of the county exec and the mayor. Is that what you're referring to? It's a solution, several question marks, the National Guard. When I was briefed by Edwin Huertas, deputy director for the governor, he mentioned exactly what Travis shared. In addition, I said, so what are essential services or, critical service are? And he said it was things like utilities, government offices, etc. And so when they're on, we'll ask them more specific questions about their response to the unrest reaction to the police brutality that occurred recently, and to the case here locally of the murder of Joel Acevedo. How is the curfew being addressed for people? So in the first press release that they were talking about, if you have a work to do or an essential service after hours, to share that if you're stopped with the police. Again, we're going to ask what exactly are they needing to be demonstrated that's happening. You have a medical emergency, or you got to go to work. And so in the first release, they discussed that if you have a reason for being out, a critical reason for being out, a mandatory reason for being out in your life, that you can. Clarissa, should the person have document? We don't know. We'll have to see what that answer is. Travis, will you do some digging around and see if you can get an answer on if people are pulled over or stopped by the police, what do they have to demonstrate any documentation that they're going to and from? I haven't heard that yet. Yeah, what about people that are working during the hours of curfew? During that time, the press release, I believe from the mayor, said if you're working during the hours, the curfew has room for people who have to go to work and do other essential functions. Yeah. Drea, what can we do to get display badge numbers or something to identify them in the case of resident complaints? And so if my memory serves me correctly, based on our former forums, we had a forum after the collaborative community committee, and in that forum they talked about the results of the ACLU lawsuit based on stop and frisk, when the community felt there was racial profiling going on during the practice of stop and frisk. And the attorney that was sharing there and representative from the ACLU said that the police have to share with you their badge numbers and identify you why they're stopping you as part of the ACLU law settlement. So also we can make a link. Drea, will you look up the link to the ACLU rights sheet? We had some physically at the office that we were always distributing, but could you look up that link and share that with people? In the event you're stopped, what are your rights and what are the obligations of the officers who stop you? And that, like I said, that attorney had said, the ACLU rep said that they have to share their name and badge and a number and why they're stopping you. And then I want to remind you all, if you believe that somebody's committing a crime and you want to report that, SOC is here. We have a community problem-solving unit function for District 2, and we extend that to District 6. What does that mean? The city selects us and funds us to be a liaison between residents and law enforcement. And so sometimes people don't feel safe reporting a crime or an abuse of power by a police officer. So you can do either. If you suspect that an officer is treating you incorrectly, and you want to take that complaint forward or navigate how to handle that, you can contact us. Travis, who was just on, is our safety lead, our CPU coordinator for our agency. The Fire and Police Commission is a place the complaints can go to, and there are other folks, other ways to handle that complaint. But we're happy if you contact us at those contact points I told you. You can call us 672-8090. You can email us soc@socmilwaukee.org, or you can connect with us on any of these Facebook measures if you feel you're being treated incorrectly by the police and what your rights are, and we can share that. Thank you. The ACLU page for rights. How do we make sure that people are safe? Elsa, that's the question we're trying to solve together as a community. And one way is to know your rights. The other is to, make sure that you have ways and people around you as much as possible, and that you have the ability to monitor that with recordings, etc. The ACLU sheet, which I know is also in Spanish. There's an app also that you can use if you're stopped by the police, that you can start, that will record, because sometimes you can't hold your camera, right? That will record that. That's all in the ACLU resources. Is there a Spanish line for Spanish-speaking folks to report a crime? Can this be done anonymously? Yes, Diana. So you can do that. You can call the police 911 emergency number as yourself. You can call anonymously. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can call SOC as the CPU function, that formal function we have with the city of Milwaukee. You can report it to us via yourself or anonymously. Now, the benefit of reporting it to us anonymously, and we report it to the police as a call to SOC, a CPU call to SOC, is that if the police have questions of you, SOC can ask you and respond to the police without your identity being exposed. And the other benefit is, if you're reporting a crime anonymously, no one's going to get back to you because they don't know who you are. But if you report it to us and request it to be anonymous, then we can give you an update on those reports. What's happening with that case? What are some of those cases? Today we're talking about police brutality, right? But there are other issues in the community. If you see somebody drug dealing, or a suspected gang house, suspected human trafficking, also for issues of blight, somebody's garage spilling over to the alley, animal abuse, deteriorating structures, garbage, we're here for you on little and big things. And that can be done in all kinds of languages, Diana, is my understanding from the police department. And at our agency, you can do that in English and in Spanish at any time, in any way of those communications. And we're hoping to expand our ability. But right now, because our population and our limited resources, we are English and Spanish. We're committing to English and Spanish, and we're hoping to expand that ability. And so you would call our same phone number, just talk in Spanish or ask for in Spanish, and you get a call. The collaborative reform, there isn't a lot of information they put out for us for the collaborative reform. We got to work on that. We have a whole report, a PowerPoint, and none of that is on that website, the official website. But we're going to take care of that this cycle. You're welcome. Welcome, Allah's group. Yes, prayers for the city and the nation. Okay, I'd like to bring on our communications manager, Marisol Diaz, to explain the promotion for this week, or to promote the promotion for this week, so that you all can participate in the daily drawing. Or this week, it turns out to be a weekly drawing. And again, here we go. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So for this week, June 1st through June 5th, submit a census-related graduation photo. So that's the key. It has to be census-related, and you can be as creative as you need to be. So please do that. So census-related graduation photo to enter to win a $50 gift card and to be featured in our Class of 2020 slideshow, which is going to happen this Friday on our forum, this Friday, June 5th. So please submit those census graduation photos to soc@socmilwaukee.org. And I guess I will accept submissions until Friday, but preferably by Thursday, please.
Thank you, Marisol. And so, yes, counts. Yes, our graduates count, and we want to celebrate that you graduated. But our mission is to keep us engaged as a community. And so, you can send us your graduation photo of you filling out your census, or you as a parent filling out your census and a picture of your kid's graduation. So that could be all in one picture, graduate filling out census, or it could be a graduation picture and proof that you filled out the census, like Gabe said earlier. Thank you, Marisol. First of all, the graphic is gorgeous, just like Mother's Day. You do an incredible job there. So happy that you're with us to bring that value to us. I want to remind you of what's happening. Listen, stuff is deep right now. It's heavy. The COVID, the police brutality, the murders, the economy, the living in America with race relations that continues in 2020, which is beyond our soul's capacity to even still take that in, that's happening. It's heavy. We want to navigate it together. We want you to express your questions, your concerns, your doubts, and problem solve, right? Because the idea is to get to a place that we can live what we profess in this country, especially after how much was lost to be a country when we count the cost of our indigenous native peoples and nuestros mexicanos who also owned part of this country. When we consider the cost of what was taken from people to establish this country, like the only way to make that in any way livable for us in 2020 is to really live what we profess and to try to make right to our first and indigenous people, our Native Americans, and the Mexicanos who own this country before we all here. And for those of us who were brought here, involuntarily as slaves, and those of us who were conquered, like my people in Puerto Rico. And so the only way we can live as Americans is to live what we profess as a country, truly live it. Okay, I want to remind you, tomorrow, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes is going to be with us again, and we can ask him those questions about the National Guard. In the absence of information, misinformation and disinformation takes place. We'll try to, split hairs here and understand what is protest, what is rioting, what is looting, where does that come from? What part of that is individual action and what part of that is reaction to oppression, etc. And people are like, you can't make a connection. Let's listen. Let's try to learn from each other. And most importantly, let's try to heal and problem solve. Hold people accountable. So tomorrow, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. Also, my colleagues, Marquesa Tucker, the director of the African American Round Table, the chair of the Collaborative Community Committee, Fred Royal, the president of the NAACP, the vice chair of the Collaborative Community Committee, and myself form the executive committee. And so we'll be moving the work of the Department of Justice continued forward, and all the effort that the 45 groups in this community had focus groups to respond to that report, to problem solve. We want to make sure that your voices and your efforts don't stay on paper. And we're going to continue to press forward with that. That's tomorrow. Then Wednesday, Dr. Deborah Blanks, president of Cairo Communications, which was one of our researchers, is going to be on to help us understand the historical and contextual analysis of police community relations, including police brutality, the efforts to fix those things, the lawsuits, etc. Then on Thursday, Alderman Perez, myself, and if I can get in connection with Alderwoman Samaripa, we're going to talk about our near Southside Emergency Response Collaborative, Emergency Peace Collaborative, which is targeted at the root of the issues that cause unrest and to try to keep people as safe as possible during unrest. And hopefully on Friday, Director of the City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, Reggie Moore, with their efforts as well. Before we conclude the program, and I know we've gone on, I think the issue of the day has warranted some extra time. Hola, Brenda. She stands in solidarity with the protesters. In their right and their cause is valid, and something needs to change. It is a matter of life and death because we have seen death. You worry about the COVID spread during these large gatherings. Earlier, our coronavirus coordinator, Marlene Zaran, shared some tips from Congresswoman Ocasio on how to be safer during protests. And so we'll make that available at our website, and we'll continue to share that. Please do share your questions, concerns, and problems that solutions you have for the problem that we're dealing with, this continued race issues in America and police brutality. We want to get to the other side of this issue. So you can do that even after the program ends by emailing it to us or contacting one of our staff or inboxing us or one of our social media outlets. With that, Sharing, I want to remind you to be back with us tomorrow at 3 o'clock with SOC, and we want to thank you for being with us. We know this community is in pain all around, everybody, and we'd like to be here for each other and get to the other side. And it's not going to be comfortable, but we're capable, more than capable, to take this opportunity to not be in this place again. And so please join us tomorrow. And then we want to thank you and thank the partners who make it possible for us to continue our program and services, including the expanded work that we're doing because of COVID, and now the expanded work that we're going to be doing because of the police and community relations. And so we'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock with SOC, and I leave you with this thank you message.
Hello, SOC viewers. My name is Kaiser Strock, and I live in the Polonia neighborhood. We would like to thank everyone for supporting our 3 o'clock with SOC live show and for completing our SOC survey. In addition to thanking our residents for tuning in and sharing our show, we would also like to thank the following sponsors: Wisconsin Voices, Community Development Block Grants, Neo Philanthropy State Infrastructure Fund, Movement Voter Project, Catholic Campaign for Human Development, the Zilber Foundation, City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, Tides Foundation, City of Milwaukee Promise Zones, and all the faithful individuals who support our SOC through their personal donations. Thank you.